Wrap me in bacon, wrap him in bacon, and pour bacon crumbles on my head. Pour bacon crumbles on his head. Now that I think of it, I'll just go to Little Caesars. We'll go to Little Caesars. Get a bacon wrap deep dish pizza instead. Get a bacon wrap deep dish pizza instead.
Get Little Caesars large, hot and ready bacon wrap deep dish pepperoni and bacon pizza wrapped in over 3.5 feet of bacon for just $12 at participating locations plus tax.
Pizza.
We're gonna have a TV party tonight. Alright! We're gonna have a TV party, alright! Tonight!
We've got nothing better to do than watch TV and have a couple of brews.
Everybody's gonna hang out here tonight! Alright! We'll pass out on the couch. Alright!
Tonight! We've got nothing better to do than watch TV and have a couple of brews. Don't talk about anything else. We don't want to know. We're dedicated to our favorite shows.
And tonight, our favorite show is The Orville, Season 2. You know, Jesse, I tried to pitch my dad on this show. You know what he said to me?
Oh, I cannot wait to hear what a Christopher Radulich gem he came up with.
Now, this is a man who had an entire library full of science fiction.
Yeah, you've told me before. I remember you saying this guy was a sci-fi guy.
Okay? And he's a huge Star Trek fan. In fact, for a while, his Christmas gift from me annually were 2 Star Trek, the original television show, Kirk and Spock from like the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
2 Star Trek VHS episode tapes.
That's awesome.
Okay? This is a man who, part of the reason why I'm as into science fiction as I am, and high fantasy and science fantasy, is because of his interest in the subject matter. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, for show, he would dig The Orville, especially Season 2, which tends to lean less on the Family Guy type humor and more on the science fiction and science philosophy and science philosophy this time around than it did before. I figured he would really enjoy that, right?
Sure.
You know what he said to me?
What?
I don't like it.
Okay, now hold on.
No, wait, hang on.
He didn't like your pitch?
He didn't like the show. He'd seen a couple episodes. I think he watched the one where he watched the one when we're going to talk about this in detail. But he watched the one with Isaac when the Kalons attack and Isaac turns on his people and all that.
Dude,
he watched those. I think he watched. And he watched a couple of different ones, and he was like, "There's no, I swear to God, this is true. There's not enough action in the show." And hang on, it reminded him too much of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Oh my goodness!
Mic
What a
drop.
crime!
Mic
what
drop.
a crime! What a crime!
I was like, "What have you done with my father?"
Wow. So, okay. I mean, I can understand sometimes some of the episodes are focused on the people on the ship a little too much, but you didn't get that all the time.
Oh, my stars and garters! Not a show about people!
I mean, that was... Star Trek: The Next Generation had its fair share of that. Boy, it's been a while since I watched a good bit of the original series, but...
I honestly think my father's developing dementia.
That's sad.
Because I know like the early Star Trek: The Next Generations were definitely more science fiction-y and more science philosophy than they were action. I kept making fun of them all day. I'm just like, sorry, we'll get more kick in the nuts and explosions for you for the third season. Yeah, have you heard of a show named Jackass? That might be more your style.
Oh wow! Well, you're definitely his son. If you turn that around and shine that light on movies, you're a big action kind of guy when it comes. You love that. You eat that stuff up.
I do.
So maybe he likes that in his shows, and you just prefer it in movies. Maybe I don't know.
But that's my introduction for the Orville season 2.
No. My dad has dementia.
Good night, everybody. I've got biopsies. My dad's got dementia. Good night, everybody.
Smile.
No, the Orville season 2, as I said before, really leans a lot less on the humor that was sometimes a little out of place in season 1. I mean, the conversation that you, Ronnie, and I had, and you can go back in the archives and check out our review of the Orville season 1, where we first fell in love with the show, was because it wasn't just kicking the balls humor. You know, it wasn't just that Seth MacFarlane style everyday man, Family Guy type humor that he's known for, and some people fucking hate Robert Winfrey. But they also, I mean, they spent an episode or two with the Mocklins just dealing with like transgender babies and shit like that.
Yeah.
You know, and we talked a long time for a while about that in the last podcast. That's what I was getting to. And they pick it up again this season. Like, they don't leave that has, like, far-reaching consequences.
Yeah.
With the characters in season 2. But not just that. I mean, a lot of the episodes really took, like, an issue, a philosophical or a scientific or a... societal issue, and built an episode around it. And then you had the issue of, you know, you had the two-parters within a few episodes of each other. You had the Kaylon invasion, then you had Kelly's Choice, as it were. Mm-hmm. And in both cases, they were very action laden, but they were also pseudo philosophical. Tomorrow was probably one of the ones that had me thinking, like, if this happened to me, how would I react? You know, and it's very heady, and it makes you think, and that's what, you know, kicking the balls, haha. No, you don't get a whole lot of that here. It's they'll sprinkle that in every once in a while, some very funny stuff, and granted, it's not as on the nose as I think season 1 was, but we get some great questions we get to ask ourselves. Well, if I was in that situation, what would I do? And I think that really is the mark for me to say, okay, this is a show that I like. I like shows that make me think. So I've got it's been a while since you know, December 30th, January 3rd, these early episodes here. So some of these I gotta consult the wiki and read the plot synopsis on. We're not gonna go necessarily episode by episode, but there are certain things that need discussion, and just as a refresher, when it gets addressed, it might be good to kind of go over the plot. One of the things, and it started in this episode, it gets resolved later on, but it came out of the first season, was when Ed and what's the character's name? Was when
Kelly?
Ed and Gordon was infiltrated the Krill ship, and they convinced the crew that they were Krill, and they were doing this to get information or whatever, and they learn, and then of course there's a Krill woman that kind of falls in love with Seth MacFarlane, and she realizes, hey, wait a minute, we've been had. Well, they deal. Well, turnabout is fair play this season.
Oh yeah,
they introduce, I believe it's Lieutenant Janelle Tyler, who's the new cartographer, and then I want to say, episode 4 is when they resolve it, where they find out that she was actually setting Ed up all along. And that she had turned the tables on him, and and the object was to get him captured by the Krill, after she had donned the look of a human.
Mm-hmm.
And they have this great conversation, like he's showing her old movies, and he plays Billy Joel for her, and I think it's like, did you like anything I showed you? She's like, oh, I like this one thing, and of course it was like one of the more violent ones. But so that plot resolution and the idea, this is what really pushes the theme of trying to get the Krill on board with the Union.
Yeah. Yeah,
this is the episode that really starts to push that agenda. What did you think of this whole storyline and the turnaround for Ed?
Well, I mean, it was fine. I remember this episode kind of being a little bit predictable, in this arc, and at the end, I remember sitting there going, this is not going to end well. You always have that feeling like, okay, there's going to be something bad that happens. But refresh my memory a little bit here, because I'm looking through some of the stills on tvtime.com and just looking at some of the stuff that happened. I remember the ending specifically when, everybody's been revealed to be who they're supposed to be. And she leaves. But there seems to be isn't there still something between the two, would you say?
I mean, Ed fell here's the thing about Ed that you really start to figure out this season. When he falls for a girl, he falls fucking hard.
Oh, jeez, does he ever?
He's still in love with Kelly, and he really can't get over her. He's moved, he can move on, but if Kelly, and they'll deal with this later on in the season. But if Kelly would agree to be in a one-on-one relationship with him again, he'd be right fucking there.
Oh, yeah.
In the meantime, he's willing to just say fuck it, and and do what he needs to do. But for the time being, but if it should ever change, yeah, he has not lost any emotion for Kelly. And then there's this woman, Talea is her name, and he didn't have that long to fall in love with her, so it isn't as strong. But he's still he's willing to let her go, and he's willing to essentially use their relationship as the argument for we can get along with the Krill if we can just find common ground. Meanwhile, she's telling him to fuck right off.
Yep.
And the Krill will never see peace with you, and it isn't until the Kalons attack and everyone in the galaxy realizes that if you are people of flesh, you're in trouble, and and this is not the time for petty differences. Being godless takes a back seat to being dead.
Yeah. I was reading it. Here, I'll read this to you. This is a comment a guy left. What the actual fuck? Poor Ed has no lady luck, while his cheating wife has a boyfriend. Cheating wife? Ew, I don't know about that. Well, she was at one point. She was considered the cheating wife. Has a boyfriend. Give him a girlfriend already. He has already been screwed over so many times. First his wife cheated, then Charlize Theron turned out to be a time-traveling kidnapper. Now his girlfriend turned out to be a Krill. So, yes, Seth MacFarlane, please give yourself a girlfriend.
Okay. Okay, can we... I need to deal with that, but I can deal with that by talking about another episode. One of my favorites of the season. Oh, shit. Which one is it? Lasting Impressions.
Oh, my goodness.
Speaking of give someone a fucking girl, can we give Gordon a goddamn girlfriend already?
No shit, man. Wow, you were pulling so hard for this guy. And, but there's...
Hang on. So I keep making the joke / argument that when virtual reality and or sex robots become available to anybody, that's the end of dating.
Oh, it's a very good possibility.
And when you look at look at Gordon, right? Gordon actually wanted to go into command because he kind of surmised in his own mind that Ed's able to get women because he has authority to him. He's a leader, he's a captain, so women are more attracted to him because women are attracted to power. That's what's inferred. So he literally looks at Ed and at the time human Talea, and it was I want some, and because he was going to go after her first, and then he fucking chickened out.
Yeah.
And so fast forward to Lasting Impressions, this guy can't get himself laid to save his fucking life, and so instead he takes his cell phone, from the 20th century and builds a girlfriend, essentially.
Yeah.
With a whole life and everything else, and proceeds to essentially live in it. And it's like and here's the pseudo-philosophical stuff about it. It's like when your virtual life that you can control and manipulate to your own desires becomes more appealing to you than real life, what happens then?
Yeah,
You
dude.
know?
That's going to be a very legitimate question. It's a legitimate question now. I mean, people who... Didn't you say you used to play World of Warcraft?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and...
Had to quit, nearly got divorced.
So it's present now, but it seems like things are just... they continually progress to where it just gets... It's better and better. It's more easier. It's easier to spend time in that world. And like you said, man, if you could start really mimicking the physical aspects of a relationship, then things are... Man, a lot of things are going to be off the table at that point.
Potentially, you know what you're not dealing with when you're in a virtual world and you have a virtual girlfriend? Paying bills.
True.
Differences in philosophy raising children. Differences, just differences in taste, you know? When you have the virtual girlfriend, she likes all the same Marvel movies you like and loves to talk about them ad nauseum. Mm-hmm. As opposed to real life, where your wife likes British shows and you like comic book shows and you don't talk about shit.
Yep. Yeah. And here
I'm not saying that's my life or anything, but, you know, it's just an example.
Seems awful specific, but that's okay.
I don't know what you're talking about. That's just a clear example of men like Marvel, girls like British shows.
That's right. That's
Downton
right.
Abbey. Go on.
Specific enough. All right. So, yeah. So, Gordon, you know, they find this cell phone, they build this girl, and then, again, you start to see that another character on the ship has a relationship, but it's doomed almost from the start. And they did a good job of showing, like, how the crew was very concerned. Like, Gordon, man, you do understand this isn't going to end well, you know. And we have another perfect example of that as we talk about Claire and Isaac here in a few. But
oh yeah,
gosh, anyway, so this was also, that episode specifically was Scott Grimes, his time to shine for me. That guy.
You think more so even than Blood of Patriots? Another episode where like one of his best friends, since like childhood or whatever, turns out to be a terrorist.
That was okay. But I was so emotionally invested in pulling for Gordon here, and be like, man, come on, can this work for this guy? And then you sit.
Well, I think what I was asking was, Gordon has 2 episodes where he's the main attraction. Which one do you think he gave the better performance in that? Because you started to say, like, he really shines here. Like, okay, does he shine in Blood of Patriots, or does he shine more in Lasting Impressions?
This is the one that made me go, okay, this guy is a legitimate actor, and I think he is a great addition to this cast. Mm-hmm. Blood of Patriots is fine. I mean, he does a good job in that one as well, but I think this one had much more of a range for me that I appreciated. It just seemed like... Actually, if you watch his performance throughout all of Orville, his character is definitely somebody who would find themselves at home in the mid-2000s or the late 2000s. That's just the way he's written. And then he finds somebody from that era, and it's a perfect match. And the hardest thing for me was watching him come to the realization that he has to let this girl go, because yes, she is a program, and even though he programmed her to text him while he was on the bridge, which was so fucking crazy. Like, he was getting text from her, and I was like, oh, that's insane, and that's something that could potentially happen in our future, Mark. But either way, when he had to come to grips with the fact that he had to let this girl go, and yes, she was a computer program, plus she was, all this stuff about her ex-boyfriend was going on, and he actually had that moment where he stepped in and he had to say goodbye. This is going to be probably the top 3 episodes of this season. for me. It was lasting impressions because, number one, Scott Grimes did a fantastic job acting in that. And Blood of Patriots, I mean, was there something there that made you go, okay, well, hey, he's got chops here as well? I mean,
no.
Okay.
This was probably the most forgettable episode of the season.
Oh, okay.
In
Blood
all
of
honesty,
Patriots.
in all honesty, I like one of the things I loved. Season 2 fucking kicks ass. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. You know, like I watched the season finale live. Well, I watched it when I got home from Endgame, despite the fact that I was exhausted and needed to get back on the CPAP machine, and had spent the last half an hour crying my eyes out.
We did very similar things because I immediately came home and then sat down and watched the final episode as well.
So like, you know, I'm already like an emotional fucking wreck, but I couldn't go to bed without seeing the Orville. I needed to know how the season was going to end, and the weird thing was like it didn't make that connection to me that it was a 2-parter. You know, like when she. Like we're all over the place, but just as
hey,
an
we're
aside,
at the end, we're at the beginning, we're in the middle.
But when Kelly turns him down for a second date, I was like, huh, I wonder how that changes things in the future. Is this like a Marvel deal where, you know, now Kelly goes into an alternate timeline, but nothing changes in the future? You know, like I guess I had seen like production stills from the next episode, and you know they were all on the Orville, so I'm like, okay, you know,
yeah.
So I really didn't know what to expect. They didn't do the best job of, and that might have been purposeful, of showing you really where it was headed. So it didn't even make it didn't make any kind of sense to me, you know, like where it was going. I just thought, okay, well, you know, there was some stuff with the Kalons in the trailer for it, so I'm like, I'm sure they'll do more with that storyline, and we'll see where this is going. So when it opens and it's like Kelly's decision to not date Ed, you know, results in the Kalon taking over the galaxy, I was like, holy fuck, did I miss something?
Yeah,
I had to watch the beginning twice. Because I was like half distracted when I was watching it. I was like on my phone watching it. I'm like, oh god, it's 2 guys walking in the snow. Fuck me. And then it's like nowhere safe in the galaxy anymore. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
I clearly missed something here. So I had to go back and like focus on it. But okay, yeah, Gordon did. You know, Scott Malloy did a really, I think, really. Came out in this season as a better actor than I think he was given credit for in the first season. Really, the whole cast does. I mean, I don't think anyone gives a bad performance. Fucking Bortus is hysterical this season.
Oh my gosh,
Bortus is like Drax the Destroyer. You know what I mean? Like he's not meant to be a funny character, but it turns out he's hilarious.
Dude, okay, there are gags throughout the season, and one of the ones with Bortus that I'll never forget is him and Clyden walking up to a food synthesizer and saying, 1 cigarette, please. And then it's like, 500 cigarettes, please. I was like, oh, shit. And then he's smoking on the bridge. Oh, dude, I was laughing so hard.
Okay, my favorite Bortus moment this season was in, I believe it's Identity, where it's Isaac's goodbye party. And he walks up to the cake. He was like, I would like that piece of cake. And Kelly hands him another piece of cake. He was like, I don't want that piece of cake. I want this piece of cake. He was like, you want a corner piece. Yes, I would like the corner piece of cake. Please give me the corner piece of cake before somebody hands me another piece of cake. And somebody walks up to him and just hands him another piece of cake. And he's like, I hate this party. I was like, dude, I've been there. Oh, boy, I sympathize. Them dancing in the club with old Kelly, old young Kelly, fucking great,
hilarious. Yeah, he was already pissed off about that whole birthday thing because he wanted to have 2 separate birthdays. Who else was celebrating a birthday at that same
Kelly.
time? I can't. Okay, so he wanted to have 2 separate birthdays, but no, everybody decided to do a joint birthday. He was already pissed off about that, and he doesn't get his corner piece of cake.
I hate this party.
There, okay. One of the things I thought they might change for me in this series going into the second season would be my hate for Clyden. I thought that, okay, well, they will maybe do something to help redeem Clyden in my eyes, because I've never wanted a character to die, and I feel so bad because I hate.
He's
Clyden.
so awful, isn't he?
Oh my god!
Did you find yourself in the season going, Bortus, you can do better?
Oh, I don't know how many episodes I'm like, get rid of this fucking guy, please.
Blow him out an airlock.
What is
Let's see.
What is going to happen?
The Clytus hit parade. He nearly kills the one guy that the one Mocklin that likes girls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I was like, right then when that happened, I was like, oh, of fucking course it'd be Clyden, but of course we find out it's not.
It's like it's just as bad as killing him, if not worse. He was going to report him, and the guy would have lived the rest of his life. If they hadn't killed him on Mocklin, he'd have lived the rest of his life in prison. Mm-hmm. I think when they find out about the Mocklin baby that they don't want to transgender, and then they want to go to the sanctuary planet. He reports them again.
Yeah,
like I fucking hate Clyden. And
then it's not like Bortus isn't like kind of on our level as well, since he's going to the whatever the hell it is, the simulator deck to have sex escapades over and over and over.
Yeah, it's funny because that got mentioned offhand when oh gosh, what's her character's name? Tala came aboard the ship after the first girl left. When she comes on, she's like, "So what's the ship like?" And Scott Grimes, Gordon, is just rattling off all the stuff that's happened on the Orville. And it was like, "Oh yeah, Lieutenant Commander Bortus got addicted to porn and nearly blew up the ship."
Oh, it's great. Mm-hmm. There was a quote that Clyden did have that I did laugh at. And, oh, my goodness, I want to find it here. Where was it? It was something along... Oh, yeah. Bortus says, is there an injection I can take? So apparently this is them trying to get off of the nicotine habit. Mm. And Clyden yells, you had enough injections. Sexcapades, ladies and gentlemen. Sexcapades.
I told you the story already about how I watched that episode in front of my kids, and my wife got mad at me.
I have questions
every time Clyden said, I wish to have the sexual event, I fucking wanted to throw myself out the door.
Not getting less awkward in here.
Neither one of my kids was. They just kind of sat and watched, and and I think I told you, like, the thing that Jonas picked up on was the Mocklin divorce procedure, which was stabbing your fucking loved one to death.
Oh my gosh.
Good shit. But yeah, that's definitely something I wanted to touch on, was just how awful they make Clyden this season. Like, he is a constant source of problems. But the thing I loved about the episode where I think Primal Urges is that they carried that over. They carried the birth of Topa in the transgendering from the first season to the second, and when and like the height of that episode, the highlight for me was when that isn't for laughs, was when they're getting therapy from Claire, and he's like, I resent you. Like, we got to this place in our marriage because I resent you for having gone through with Topa's transgendering. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, that really fucking hits home for me.
Yeah, what you can count on is them keeping what you thought might be a funny plot beat, but granted, the whole transgender child thing, that's not funny at all. I mean, that's something that a lot of people probably think about. But the fact that he was doing these things in the simulation room and all that still builds up to where you're invested in the aspects of their relationship, and it does shine. They never look happy anyway. But you can tell they're still pissed off at each other. They're still trying to work through stuff.
Well, when in the bit where the two Mocklins are trying to seek sanctuary from the all-girl Mocklin planet. Let's see, which episode is that? That is Sanctuary.
It's like towards the end. Yeah, Sanctuary.
Sanctuary. He actually says to Bortus, and I was like, he's not wrong. He was like, who are you to question the traditions of this society? Like, they got to where they explained the whole Mocklin thing as basically their planet is so uninhabitable that only the men survived. and that and that's how they developed a culture of lauding men over women, and and saying like in order for the species to continue, there just can only be men. Obviously they took it a step way too far, but the more to the point, it doesn't really. The details don't matter. Like leaving the gender equality or inequality out of it for just a moment. He's basically saying, like, we have these traditions that have kept this race going and have made it successful. Like, later on, you find out that the Mocklans are, like, the premier builder of, like, weapons.
Yeah,
and,
they rely on them. They're critical to
they're clearly an advanced society, despite all, despite all this violence and semi-barbaric behavior. But... he says, like, this is how we've survived for thousands and thousands of years. Who the fuck are you to turn things upside down? And it's like, and I don't want to get into, like, a heady debate about this or take a side. But, like, you think about, some of the traditions in America, traditions that we've had forever. Okay, gay marriage, right?
Yeah.
People, it's kind of a similar argument where it's like, we've had man and woman marriage. It is for the purposes of settling men down and continuing to continuing to build families. Man and wife, parents, are the strongest structure for families to happen and blossom, in theory, and all of this. And then you have, like, the gay marriage people who come in and go, no, gay parents are just as good, and it's fine to have gay marriage and gay parents and all of that, and and all of these different permutations of the one known basic family structure are perfectly okay, and they're all equal and they're all great. And it's like the counter argument is, no, they're not. They're not all great. These are many of these are less than, and who are you to overturn centuries of what's been working? No, I'm not taking a side in any of that. I'm saying these are the arguments. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's Clyden's point of view. It's like, this has worked. Why are you fighting it?
Yeah, why change it? Why try to fix something that's not broke? And you look at the women who find the sanctuary unknown to the rest of the Mocklans. And really, they were trying to remain unknown. I mean, they were just, and a lot of that, if you want to spin it back to the gay culture, for that, most people back in the 60s and 70s were probably just, most gays were like, I want to stay out of the limelight.
I think that's true, just as true now, though.
Yeah, well,
I think the ones you hear about are the ones that are loud and and everything else, and the ones making
they want to. I'm sure they just want to be like everybody else. I mean, they want to have a family. They'd rather not have a spotlight pointed on them. But either way, they also want the oppression to stop. Yeah. So they have to have a voice, and that's exactly what we have here.
I work with two different gay men, and neither one of them makes a big deal out of it. They don't announce that they're gay.
Yeah.
Like, I know they're gay because I've heard them say my partner or my boyfriend or whatever. And, like, in the concept of, like, my boyfriend and I are going to see Avengers at 1 a.m. because that's the first show we could see. Mm-hmm. True story. Things like things like that. Like, or I'm going with my boyfriend to a concert. Like they're just talking like I talk about my own life. They don't walk in fucking carrying the rainbow flag and like planting it in the middle of the fucking jail.
Yeah, yeah.
We're here. We're queer. Get in line to get checked by medical.
Oh, that'd be an interesting day. You wouldn't believe what happened in the office today, honey.
So I think most gay people just want to live their life, and it's. I would actually liken it to the transgender culture in America now, where I think, as these women, we're not willing to just be wiped out.
Yeah,
we're gonna find life.
They have
finds
a right
a way.
to exist.
Yeah.
They have a right to exist, and it's to watch a culture or a race, a species say, "No, you do not. We're taking you out. We're going to eliminate you. We're destroying you." And I mean, you can't help but feel for why in the world do this? They weren't doing anything.
Just as an aside, the writing on this show is hilarious at times. Like, because once again, we're into a really serious subject, and, and there's a lot of philosophy here. There's a lot of grist for the mill. There was also Dolly Parton as a prophet, and
my gosh,
and a shootout to 9 to 5.
It's the greatest thing I've ever seen. I'm looking at a picture right now. I can't remember the leader of the sanctuary, the lady, but they have a quote written down here.
Her name was Havina, I believe.
Havina, that's right. She speaks with the might of 100 soldiers. That's Dolly Parton, ladies and gentlemen.
My favorite bit about that was when they're at the meeting. They're in, they're before like the union conference. And she's quoting Dolly Parton, but the quoting Dolly Parton was fine. Like, when I got married, I had my dad read lyrics from Nothing Else Matters. One of my friends was like, and now a reading from the Book of Hetfield. A few people actually lifted lighters. It was an outdoor ceremony.
Nice.
But so like that's all fine. But what makes that funny is as she's starting to do it, you see Ed go. Ugh! like oh no.
Yeah. Oh boy.
And Admiral, how's it going? What? He's like,
man.
But yeah, I tell you what, like I turned a corner on the Mocklins and Bortus because I wasn't like the biggest fan of those storylines. I mean, like talking about it on the podcast, whatever I enjoyed, but as far as like watching, I was like, gosh, we're dedicating so much time to this. This season, Bortus became like one of my favorite characters.
Oh yeah. He had a lot of great spots in here.
All right, Claire dates a vibrator. Let's talk about that.
Oh my goodness. Well, yeah, I was shipping. I'm going to say it, Mark. I'm going to use that trendy lingo. I was shipping Isaac and Claire back when that episode from the first season where he helped them when they crash landed on that planet.
Right.
I was like, oh, man, he's a great father figure here. Hopefully something will happen between these two. But wait a second. This is a robot and this is a human woman. What the fuck am I thinking? Well, then, Mark Radulich, what was I thinking? What did we get this season?
We call this the act of mating. Oh, boy. That was such a great... The episode where they actually like had a relationship... When you think about the structure of relationships and like past relationships you've been in, I mean, I know like you got married like 9 years old or whatever, but
she gave me her hand at 8.
Well,
I thanked her father, bought a sheep. It was crazy.
You guys got married in like the 4th grade or some shit, but for the rest of us who like dated, like that the way things went in that. The courting, the dating, the breakup, and and then Seth MacFarlane has the prophetic words, and now the last part of what you have to learn, getting the girl back, and he makes it rain on the bridge, because she likes the rain in Baltimore. I'm not kidding. I ran out of my bedroom watching it. I'm like, Melissa, it's so romantic. Like, I'm not a romance guy at all. Believe
I'm right
me.
there with you.
Talk to my wife; she'll tell you. Not romantic in any way, shape, or form. But much like the whole, like, spoilers, Steve Rogers' ending of Endgame, like, just that, it's called a happy refrain. That happy refrain, that coming together of people who love each other, even when one of them's an android, like, it just brings something out of me,
Yeah.
I was so happy for Claire and Isaac, that I started to cry.
It was good, man. It was good. And now, this is where we actually get to see where they use, like, the technology, and he pretty much becomes a man, and they make love, and she's able to... I mean, they fall head over heels with each other. Now, is this the same episode where he decides to break it off, too?
Yeah, and he gets called the jerk, and that's where... I know you've been dying to talk about wife beater Isaac, but give me a half a second here. So I'm in the I'm calling it operating room. I'm in the operating room today, and I'm waiting to be discharged from the hospital. And my dad and I are talking about the Orville, and he just blurts out, "Yeah, and that shit between the robot and the doctor was a bunch of horse shit." And I'm like, "What? Did the robot learn to love?" And he's like, "Yeah, robots don't work that way." And I'm like, "He evolved. That was the point of it. You know, that his programming was dynamic." And that he could learn, like Data. I actually brought that up. Like you're a big TNG fan. You keep bringing that up. I'm like, Data was able to. He's like, the difference was that Data was programmed to try to ascend to humanity, whereas this guy was basically there to study humans and then report back to the Kaylon. And I'm like, but that wouldn't stop. But he's still like a sentient being. He still can, like they talk about. Algorithms changing in his programming so that he can recognize and experience love, which is how he ends up feeling the way he does about not just Claire, but more for her boys, because it's not Claire that turns him. It's the possibility that he may have to kill one of her sons that finally, like that in Identity Part 2, that changes him and makes him turn on his own people. And my father was like, "Nope, it's a bunch of bullshit." I'm like, "All right, because you've experienced a lot of robots who evolve into, human feelings. Got it."
He seems awful closed off
Yeah,
to this concept.
Very, very racist against robot love.
Oh, man.
All right, wife beater Isaac, go.
Okay, so... yeah, well, let me do say that I really did like this episode, especially for the fact that, we got to see... the romance just bloom and almost at one point kind of fall apart because Isaac makes a decision that he's got to break up with Claire. So he turns to the one man that has, dating advice, not only dating advice, but some great breakup advice as well. And help me out. What's his name, Mark Radulich? Lamar. Okay. So he turns to Lamar to get... oh, boy. So... all of a sudden, like the next scene, the door opens, Claire walks in, and she's trying to figure out what the hell Isaac's doing as he sits there in a wife beater and tidy whities drinking something. It looks like, your stepdad after a bad day from work. And he's trying all these things to kind of like get them to he's trying to end the relationship.
He's trying to get her to break up with him.
Yes, that's right. Because he doesn't apparently want to take that step.
In his mind, he's studying human relationships. He's got, and he has succeeded in mating with her. Therefore, he feels like the study is over. That's the whole point of the conversation that he has with Ed. Ed's like, that's not the end of that's not the end of your study. There's more to a relationship than just to coin a phrase often said in The Big Bang Theory, arriving to coitus. That's not the goal.
No.
I know that's a weird thing to say for any guy listening to this. Like, did he just say "fucking's not the goal"? Because I beg to differ, sir. But in a very real sense, just banging a chick shouldn't be the goal. The goal should be to learn all facets of the relationship. When long past. When you're long past lust and young love, what else is there? What is the richness of a relationship when once you've had children, you've lived together for a while, and you've gotten to know each other, and all those things that go into a long, happy, in quotes, marriage, right? All of those things that's the journey. And and he didn't get it at first. He's just like, nah, I banged this girl. I sent my report in. Time's up. Here we go. Working 9 to 5, baby.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't. You were pulling for these two, but you deep down, Mark. I know, and that this wasn't. There's no way this could work out. Even at the end, when the bridge starts to rain, and he took that extra step to make things just right for her, in order to try and somewhat win her back, and clearly he does.
By the way, the best part of that scene is everybody else's reaction to having sit through it.
Yeah, I think it's Gordon that looks and says, this is without a doubt the weirdest ship ever. But yeah, he did take that. Isaac took that step to try and make things work out with Claire. But I'm sitting there the whole time. I'm like, man, this isn't going to work out well for her. What does she think's going to happen? He's a fucking robot, and the purpose of him being there, I was kind of like on your dad's side. The purpose of that robot, of Isaac being there, was to observe humanity. He was on loan from the Kalons, pretty much. And I was like, he's going to have to go back at some point, I would figure. We approached that, too, here later on in the season. Yep, it's time to go back.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, like, I have to wonder if the showrunner on this had an idea of where they were going to go with season 2. And if he had this all mapped out. And that, like, they wrote these individual episodes, but with the idea of of our ultimate goal is to get to the Kalons being the big threat in the universe.
Yes. Yeah. Are you ready? You want to talk about that one now, since we're talking Isaac?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's keep going. Let's get it on, baby.
All right. Then.
So Isaac, shortly after betting Claire.
It was 2 episodes later. Identity Part 1 is episode 8. Happy Refrain is episode 6. So go ahead.
So he just he basically accomplished. His superiors decide he's accomplished his mission, and they turn him off. They're like,
they
all right,
shut his ass off.
You're done.
Like, dead. You're like, oh shit, what happened?
And so Ed has been led to believe that the whole reason Isaac is on the ship is so that the Kalons can take the measure of humanity and decide whether or not they want to be part of the Union, whether or not it's worth it. What we find out, spoilers, is that the Kalons basically sent Isaac in as a, what's the phrase for like a spy?
You know
what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about.
A sleeper agent?
Yeah, he's a sleeper agent. I think spy would have worked as well, but his mission objective was he's to be a sleeper agent, quietly observe humanity, be a part of the crew, and then send that information back. And I think they said they weren't really ever going to join the Union. The mission objective here was to gather enough data to figure out the best way to take out the Union.
Yeah, see how much of a threat they were, and come up with ways to take them out.
Yeah, and they suddenly realized that they're so far technologically superior that the Union has no chance against them. Mm-hmm. So they were like, okay, well, what's stop? And then the other side of that is, and I thought this was interesting because it was very there's a great line, and I believe it's Star Trek 6, where one of the Klingons says, "We need breathing room," and Shatner goes, "Hitler, 1935." And it was very much that, and very much in general the Nazi concept. That was a real thing. You said we need breathing room, and the object and the idea being that they needed to expand. And so the Kalons have basically figured out that they need to expand off their planet, and they've looked into the universe and they've decided, well, how big of a threat is there for us if we start expansion now? And they come to the conclusion, based on Isaac's reports, not very. So, they go there in earnest to try to get Isaac turned back on, and they end up being taken over by the Kalon, who launch a full-scale invasion of Earth. And in an interest of self-preservation, Kelly and I believe it's Bortus? No, it was Kelly and Gordon. Kelly and Gordon end up throwing themselves into Krill space for the purposes of convincing them to join in the fight, because the Krill are also much more technologically powerful than the Union is. Mm-hmm. So basically the Krill is like the Klingons of this universe. Yeah,
if we're going to make Star Trek references, that's pretty much what we're doing here. It's Starfleet reaching out to the Klingons and saying, "Holy shit, here come the Borg.
Yeah,
get ready."
Right. And it's so funny because the Krill are like, "We are not interested. You people are a bunch of holy shit. We're almost dead." I'm not
about
going to
that
say
alliance.
I'm not going to say you're right, but I'm willing to fight with you. You know, it was very much like, hey, you twisted my arm. You know, so the Crows show up in the ta-da nick of time, and they take out the Kalon, but with the help of Isaac. Isaac turns on his own people because they had said like he was built after, so it's like all of these. It's so funny, like all of these other Kalon had existed in a world with humans who abused them. You know, they were like, you know, banging on their toaster ovens with bats and shit.
This is the rise of the machines, my man. This is where people were, you know, the machines finally figure out, well, we don't need these flesh bags. We do not need them. They treat us like shit anyway. It's time for us to rise up. And that's what's happened on this planet a long, long time ago.
So 100 and beyond years ago, we had a thing called a book, right? It was usually leather bound or you know, or it was just a bunch of pages wound together. And in these books, people wrote stories that incorporated philosophy and anxiety of the time. Mm-hmm. And while I'm being facetious, books still exist, but I would say like the major source of like philosophical contemplation is actually on television.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you think about what is the major anxiety in culture today, one of the major anxieties, the fucking machines are going to take over.
Yes,
like,
sir.
They're becoming more intuitive. AI is developing. Like there's a real concern that the Skynet fictional future could be a real thing. Mm-hmm. And it comes out in this episode. Like, that's what the writers are saying. They're saying, like, hey, before you go buy that Amazon Dot, just remember in a few years it might grow legs and kill you.
That's horrifying.
Your crock pot may try to cook you. I'm just saying.
The more we rely on things,
nothing.
Oh, I got it, sir. I bought me an Instant Pot. I'm moving on up in the technology world here, buddy. I know all about it. One push button, they knows what I wants to do.
Occasionally, when I get into these rants, I turn away from the computer and I get very animated, like I'm talking to an imaginary audience. And in my view of where I'm looking at my house, I can see the crock pot.
Just first thing you thought of. Okay.
Yep. Moving on.
You know, one of the things here, yeah, we've got the whole technology anxiety. Was the special effects of this two-parter not some of the best you'd seen?
Holy fuck, dude! Like, I'm used to like the CW special effects where kind of looks like the Fantastic Four movie from like years ago. Not Fan Four Stick. I mean, like the one with Jessica Alba. Mm-hmm. Especially the second one, the Rise of the Silver Surfer. There's a scene where Mr. Fantastic wraps himself around the thing, and it looks awful.
Ugh.
It's like the worst, shittiest CGI you've ever seen in your life. And there are some times when I'm watching a CW show. I don't know how many of the CW shows you watch, but the CW Arrowverse shows where they have to do something with special effects, especially on the Flash, because like they have the elongated man. And I'm like, you don't have a lot of budget for this, do you?
No way.
And so, like, color me shocked when Identity Part 2 comes on, and it looks pretty darn good. Yeah. You know, for a massive space battle in Earth's orbit, something you'd see in a Star Wars movie or something like that. And this doesn't look bad. Like,
I was impressed. I was very impressed. I enjoyed myself watching this, and it was a massive battle too. I mean, this wasn't just like 3 Kalon ships. No, and this was. I mean, this was
an armada.
Yeah, this was, and they laid it all out on the line. And I thought this was going. I wasn't paying attention to the episodes, the number we were on or whatever. I thought this was going to be the two-part of the end of the season. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, we're done here.
Like, there's more to go. Holy shit.
Holy shit. So, yeah, we got I was very impressed with this two-parter.
Alexa,
it was a lot of
stop.
fun. Uh-oh. Alexa's going off again.
Goddamn Skynet.
Okay, I'm going to read a quote again from TV Time. Orville, the only show where you'll find a green blob resurrecting his human crush's ex-boyfriend robot. You remember old Norm Macdonald's? What the hell's his name again?
Dude, even he's better this season.
Yes.
Like, how weird is that? Like, this shit character from season 1 that was a one-note joke. Like, I'm a blah, but I want to fuck the black girl. You know, like, and then season 2, he's like a real character. Like, what happened
he's
there?
got very important moments throughout this season, too. I mean, they rely on him a couple times to get, especially in this two-parter, to get them out of jams.
He's Yaphet, by the way.
Yaphet, yeah, that's right. So,
Just as an aside, if you look at the cast list on Wiki, other than Captain and Commander, everybody else is a fucking lieutenant. Like, literally the entire cast of characters. Lieutenant Gordon Malloy, Lieutenant Commander Bordas, Lieutenant Catan, Lieutenant Kiali, Lieutenant Lamar, Lieutenant Yaphet.
All right, then. Well, then. No, is there a chief science officer? That's Lamar, isn't it?
He's the engineer. But he's also he's also Lieutenant Commander.
Okay. All right, then. Okay, but yeah, hey, this two-parter was amazing. I didn't know specifically how they were going to use Isaac to turn on them, and how
or if he would. I thought he was off the show.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't. I honestly didn't think they were going to turn him
and keep him there. He was going to remain on the planet or something. Well, anyway, yeah, and he, just like you said, he was. I think one of his superiors told him to kill one of the kids, and he's like, certainly, and then he just turns the guns on his superiors, and then, so yeah, it's a very, very, very important arc for Isaac, because this pretty much separates him and makes him part of the crew, and he's no longer a Kalon. He's no longer at the whim of the Kalon here. So.
Weirdly enough, even after all the people he got killed, and in his part in the invasion, when he's staring out the window, and he says whatever scientific mumbo jumbo that he says, and Claire's like, "You're homesick," and you realize that. Just there's a humanity to Isaac that wasn't present before Identity, that now I can't escape from. Even though they really didn't use him much after that. He kind of has this big 2-part episode, and then after that it's just and Isaac's still here.
Yeah, he did get kind of muted, but I think that was probably on purpose, because he had quite a few big moments throughout the season up to this.
But I look at him differently now, because up to that point I was just like, oh, it's Robot Spock. And now I'm like, oh wow, there's a level to him that's very human and very sad. He's a very tragic character now, and he wasn't before.
No, he wasn't.
Okay, we have been just babbling for an hour about this. I'm gonna go through the episodes really quick. Jaloja is the season opener. This is the bit where they watch Bordas pee.
The yearly pee? I'd love to be able to do that. Just hold it in for a whole year.
It would make podcasting different. Let's see. Kelly starts dating the teacher. They introduce Talea, who's going by the name Lieutenant Janelle, another fucking Lieutenant Janelle Tyler. And this is one of the episodes that brings Claire and Isaac a little closer together, because he's standing up for her sons who have, gotten involved with a bad kid in class. Primal Urges, we've talked to death. We don't need to go back to it. That's the one where because Bordas is resentful of Clyden for all the things we just talked about, he gets addicted to porn.
And then it proceeds to almost crash the ship.
Yep.
Destroy the ship.
Home is where Lara Katan leaves the series.
Hey, yeah, I did just want to quickly say, I did not expect that episode at all.
You didn't read up on this, huh?
I knew
she was leaving the cast.
I had no clue, dude. And what even took me more by surprise was that as the episode occurred, I didn't expect it to take this insanely dark turn that it did. 1, 2, 3. So... yeah, here I was watching this show, and I thought Alara was down there, and she's going to be involved in whatever this mystery is. Somebody is there on the island, or that home planet that she's on, and she's going to kind of try and figure out who they are. I didn't expect it to turn into this insane hostage situation, where her dad is about to be murdered and the family. I thought it would almost turn into a horror movie. It subverted my expectations. I guess that's the point I'm trying to make. Because at one point, like the bad guy has her dad and says, "Oh, that's really good chili," because they're cooking them dinner. And then all of a sudden things turn when he goes, "Why don't you stick your hand in there?" You're like, "What the fuck?" No, stick your hand in the burning chili. And he's like, "What do you mean? What's going on?" And then things get crazy after that. But either way, did you recognize that those were apparently 2 Star Trek doctors, both dads? Alara's dad plays the doctor, the hologram doctor, I think, off of, is it DS9?
No, that's Voyager.
Voyager. Okay. And then the other one, according to what I saw here, was from the Enterprise NX, was a doctor from the Enterprise NX. So anyway, we have a lot of like Enterprise cameos, and I think they even said like one of the episodes was directed by Jonathan Frakes. I'm wrong there, right?
This season, yeah, Sanctuary.
Sanctuary was So in that one, sure enough, that one had Deanna Troi in it.
Yes.
That specific episode. But either way, the point I'm trying to make is that Home subverted my expectations. I didn't see what was happening there coming. And then she's off the show. Yes, Mark, I had no clue. I didn't think it was going to end like that. I was like...
I had been reading about it, and I was like, okay, well, this is how they're getting rid of her. Cool.
All right, then. Okay.
Just as an aside, you can add, I think, Alara Qatar to the list of women that Ed, I think, has fallen in love with. Like, they never really pursued it, and because the actress left the show, if they were going in that direction, they never really had a chance to pursue it.
Oh, now, come on. There wasn't any, like, big signs of that. There might have been a look, a sideways glance, but that's it.
No, I feel like but in the subtext of their relationship, I think he had a thing for her.
Okay. All right, then.
But
I did, too. I did, too.
After disagreeing with me, sure. Episode 4, we already talked about. This is the one where Ed gets the old Pearl Harbor job from the girl who's dressed up like a lady. Okay, so the episode 5, that's where you have the Kelly Bordis joint birthday.
Okay.
Identity is the goodbye party, and that's where Bordis does the bit with the cake. The bit where Bordis doesn't want to share his birthday.
Yep.
is all the world is a birthday cake, and this is the one where they make first contact with an alien race whose entire society is based on astrological signs.
Can I just say that I had an issue the way they resolved that by supposedly creating a star in space just by using a, like, fucking reflective whatever to simulate. I was like, okay, I think they're advanced enough to figure that shit out. They'd just be able to see what's going on. But either way,
I don't know. The impression that I got was they're kind of in the 1980s.
Okay. They still had telescopes back then. I mean, it isn't too fucking hard to see, but then again, you'd have to be looking up there. But I guarantee you everybody was looking up there when they all of a sudden, on a planet that is ruled by the stars, Mark, when one shows up in the sky, every single telescope is probably going to be pointed there. But whatever.
It's a fine episode. It's not one of the better ones. I just, I'm not entirely sure what the agenda here was. Like, somebody's just like they're having a writer's session, and somebody just kind of blurts out, people who follow, like, I'm a Taurus, see a florist. Well, I'm a Gemini, and I never know what to expect, and they get shot with an arrow, at which point a third person says, the astrology is stupid, and they get into a debate about it, and that resulted in them writing this episode. That's how I think it happened.
Well,
by the way,
did you catch the
Weird
Al song.
Did you catch the reference I just made?
I did not, actually. I knew you was making some reference. I have no idea what it was.
The Kentucky Fried Movie, man. I always reference the news scene.
Fucking, I still have not seen it. Sorry.
Oh, my God. You know what? We need to stop this podcast now and just watch the Kentucky Fried Movie.
No. Don't want to do that.
No.
No.
All right. Anything else about this episode?
No, it was neat to see how everybody was really excited to make first contact with an alien race. Everybody was like real giddy, like, "Oh man, this is going to be great. This is what we're here for." But yeah, nothing else other than that small gripe.
Okay, Deflectors is the one with the Mocklin that likes chicks, and another episode where we all hate Clyden, which I want there to be a spinoff now called Everybody Hates Clyden. We've talked at length about identity. Blood of Patriots isn't worth talking about. Lasting, oh my God, do we want to go back over Lasting Impressions? It's so good.
It was good. I mean, there was so much in that one, and if you're looking at the last four of these, I mean, they're packed full of like stuff to talk about. But I mean, we did Lasting Impressions, I think, decently. I don't think we have anything else to add, unless you do.
Sanctuary we talked about pretty well. All right, so let's talk about the season finales.
Our two-parters.
Yep. Okay, so Kelly from 7 years ago.
Oh, time travel!
Oh my God, were you like just pantsless and painting your house in semen?
Oh my goodness! I had to wipe the walls down twice. Man, I was so excited that they were going to. I was waiting for an episode like this. We haven't had any time travel shenanigans in the first season at all, other than unless you're going to count the 2D world, which that really didn't happen.
I love that episode.
Yeah, that's a good one. That sticks out there, buddy. But yeah, I was waiting for something to be all right. Here we go. We're going to deal with time travel, and they Kelly and Ed's relationship takes center stage here. But go ahead, give the synopsis, and we'll talk about
it. Just basically, one of my favorite parts of this is when they're trying to figure out like why Kelly from 7 years ago, and Lamar just kind of looks at everyone and goes, "Well, that's quantum physics."
Perfect explanation.
It was seriously the sci-fi version of A Wizard Did It. It was so good.
Yes.
And look, I'm not like a quantum physicist. I don't know if that's really true or not. Like that's just quantum physics. It's weird like that. But it's such a great line. I laughed my ass off when he says it. Yeah, they're playing with time travel, and they accidentally bring Kelly from 7 years ago just as a matter of happenstance into the future. And really, that's not the important part of the episode. The important part of the episode is Kelly. Is this like if you confronted yourself from 7 years ago? Let's see, I'm 43 now. 7 years ago, I'm 36. I'm still married to Melissa, so my life's not that different. My daughter's 1. There's where I am 7 years ago. I think the conversation we had with Al Sedano, where we talked about you from 20 years ago, I still contend I would shove myself in the pool. And not because not because at 43 years old I'm a huge bully, but 20-year-old me is embarrassing and shouldn't be talking.
I hear you.
But she's fairly youngish, and it's and 7 years prior, her life was in a completely different place. She wanted to be married. She wanted to be captain of her own ship. She wanted to be the last of the red hot tabletop clockers. She wanted it all. She wanted the family and the career, like typical woman. And she gets like none of it. Like her marriage doesn't work out. She cheats on her husband. She has no kids, and she's only a commander, not a captain.
This is a perfect example. And granted, she's an adult with these goals in mind. But as a kid, you're doing the same thing, dude. You're saying, "Well, I'm going to grow up to be an astronaut. I'm going to grow up to be a professional wrestler.
I'm going to grow up and write movies."
You have those dreams. You have those goals ahead of you. But what happens? Life happens.
Yep.
Life.
It doesn't always work out. You don't always get chosen.
No, and that's what I took a lot from that whole, here she gets to confront herself. Imagine just right now, Mark, you go forward in time 7 years and you look at yourself and
am I dead from cancer?
Well, no, I think you're still alive. You're doing well.
Okay, cool.
That's a good start, I think. Just be
a real short conversation. If 7 years from now, nope, dead in the ground.
Oh, jeez. But yeah, you go forward.
I wonder if people listening to this podcast going, "God, he makes light of cancer." Like, well, if I didn't, I'd cry.
You can count one of them as me, sir. But hey, That's all right. I'm rolling with the punches.
Say the beast's name and it has no power over you.
That's right. That's right. Damn it. But yeah, if you go forward in time, if you yourself go forward in time, and you look at where you're at, there is going to probably be potential letdown, no matter what. So 7-year-old or 14-year-old me goes forward in time and talks to 41-year-old me, and I guarantee you at that point I'm going to be disappointed. So I think them writing that in there and having that whole aspect, and Kelly, young Kelly, having to deal with none of her dreams come true.
Oh yeah, if the day I leave for college I accidentally time travel to now, like I'm happy that I have kids because it is something that was on the agenda. But when I find out that I'm like a jail social worker, and when I went to college, I definitely had different aspirations. Oh fuck, I'm disappointed. Oh Lord.
Yeah, I mean, I was mortified of having kids, especially at that young of age. I was scared to death as to what I would be as a father, and to see myself as a father and actually being not. I don't consider myself bad at it.
And 14 years later, you're like a prison guard, doling out bread and water.
That's the truth every night. But at least I could instill a little bit of comfort, like, hey, it ain't all that bad. But man, other stuff, there's plenty of things that younger you would look at you and go, what happened? Where did I go wrong? What choices should I have made?
Why are you still fat?
What? Yeah, look at yourself. You've let yourself go, sir. Well.
I didn't think you were going to get fatter than I didn't think you were going to get any fatter, but boy, you managed to achieve it. Congratulations, fatty. That's what young me would say.
It's so I listen. When it comes to time travel tropes in TV, this was done very well.
Yeah.
I like this. I really did. I like the way they played this by bringing her forward in time and not giving us any damn explanation. Like, I didn't care. I didn't care about the fact that they reached back and pulled Kelly out of, I don't know how many galaxies away they were when they did this. But, they reach her and put her on the ship. So, okay, I'm stepping back, but go ahead and continue, sir.
That's kind of like they drew a circle around that idea of, confronting yourself and goals and one of my favorite parts of the episode is Ed apologizing to her, and he's like, not for what I've done, but for what I will do, and just like, if you like, there are, I think, to me, not making a joke out of things, if you could say, if you go back, do you have any regrets over even the past 7 years? Oh, I have tons. I like, this has been, these last 10 years of meeting Melissa and having kids, no joke, have been the best years of my life outside of having cancer. And even in that 10 years, there's things that I regret. There's decisions that I made that I'm like, oh God, I wish I could change that. And that's what Ed's contending with.
Yeah, Ed has to contend with that every day on that ship when he sits down beside Kelly. Mm-hmm. He has to look her in the face and understand, damn, we had a chance and I fucked it up somehow.
Right.
And now he does not have to – he actually has what they call a second chance. Right. I mean, he has the second chance. Hence the whole dating aspect, which fucking blew my mind. I'm like, no way he's going to fucking start dating Kelly.
Well, that's the
young
thing.
Kelly
like,
here.
One of the most potent scenes of that entire episode, also, which was also hilarious, was the club scene.
Oh, yeah.
Because he realizes that while he might like to go back and change the past 7 years, going forward from where they are now, he's grown over that 7 years. He's a different guy.
Exactly. Completely.
Like, when I think back 10 years to when I first met my wife, I was still going out. Like, I was going to bars and clubs and stuff. If you approached me now and said, hey, do you want to go to the goth club in Tampa? I don't know.
I gotta go to bed. I got a CPAP.
The CPAP is calling. Is it weird that I dream? Is it weird that I fantasize about putting my CPAP on and having a good night's sleep?
Oh shit!
But It's like that sort of thing. Like, he's a different guy. He's matured. The pain of the bad decisions he has made has only, as William Shatner said as Captain Kirk, I don't want to, I don't want to give away my pain. I need my pain. Mm-hmm. I don't want to share my pain. That's the line. I couldn't help but notice your pain. Share it with me.
Share it with me.
I don't want to share my pain. I need my pain.
It's what makes you.
And right, and it's the pain, the shared pain they went through is what made those characters into who they are right now on that show. Yeah. Just as a craft aside, Adrian Palicki gets a lot of shit on this network from certain individuals. Robert Winfrey. And we've mentioned in a few different shows that she had a Wonder Woman pilot which tanked because she was terrible. Leave Adrian alone. She's great.
She's fine. She is perfectly fine. I am absolutely pleased.
Well, she was great in this 2-part episode.
Yes.
And if you didn't like her acting, at least you should admire her cleavage. Let's talk about part 2.
Oh my goodness. Let's see. We got okay, part 1 has Bangs, Bangs Kelly, and then we have,
Banging Tits Kelly.
And then, yes, part 2 is like, oh my goodness, they've ran out of fabric on this earth.
It's good to know that she thought that she needed to show off her cleavage during a Kalon invasion.
Whatever distracts them.
I was gonna say, was the thought here that if I show off my tits, the Kalon will get distracted and not try to kill her?
Hey, no complaints.
No, zero complaints.
Zero.
I've watched that episode 3 times, but only for 5 minutes at a piece. That's a jerk-off joke, ladies and gentlemen. Anywho,
for those that didn't get it out there.
Yeah. Anyway, so this was an interesting episode. I didn't think it was as good as Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. I was a little disappointed.
Agreed.
I was like, it's like if you're looking at this as kind of like a line graph, like Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow like shoots up, and then this one dips a little.
I think what made it not so memorable for me is that final hook. That final scene that you kind of get with some of the other stuff where you're like, oh, okay, well, this is going to happen. And granted, that doesn't happen a lot, but the previous episode, when she decided not to go out on that date with Ed, you're like, oh, shit, something's going to go down. Right. Well, I was kind of hoping that would be kind of what we get here. But really, all this episode is her getting the timeline right, going back and we're assuming she doesn't remember this time. We're assuming that they send her back in time yet again. No, actually they send Claire back and mind wipe her before it all happens. Isn't that what happens at the end? They send Claire back in time and have her mind wipe her?
Yeah, the plot is that the mind wipe didn't work because she was missing a key protein. They fix it, they give her another mind wipe, everything resets itself. Yeah,
and everything's hunky-dory. I was just like, okay, well, this was an episode.
This was missing. I mean, if you're into the Sam and Diane relationship of Kelly and Ed, Sam and Diane kids were characters on a show called The Cheers.
Cheers.
And they were played by Ted Danson and Shelley Long, and they spent most of the seasons they were on the show together having a on and off again relationship.
Won't they?
Until finally, they were very famous for the will they won't they. Like when you think about will they won't they, everyone comes to Sam and Diane, and then Shelley Long left the show for a movie career that went nowhere. And
Money Pit, wasn't she in Money Pit?
I don't know if Money Pit was at the same time as Cheers or if it was after or not. I'd have to look. She was in like Beverly Hills Girl Scout or some poor shit movie like that.
Beverly Hills Ninja?
That's the one. She was in Santa with Muscles. She was Hulk Hogan. Anyway.
Oh, wait a second. Yeah, things have changed.
All right. In any case, so if like the big attraction to the Orville for you is the Sam and Diane relationship of Ed and Kelly, then this was a fine episode with some fun science
alternate timeline
as a science fantasy action moments. For me, it was kind of like, ugh, this is well-tread territory. We get it. Ed loves Kelly.
Yeah.
Kelly loves Ed. Fuck off.
I wanted there to be something, because this episode basically didn't mean anything.
Well, you took the words right out of my mouth. Like almost every single one of these episodes talks about the nature of man, and and modern philosophy and anxieties, all the things that we've talked about for the past hour.
Bortus with a mustache.
Bortus with a mustache definitely relates to the nature of man. He's got a mustache underneath his loincloth. But this one was a nothing episode, and it was weird that this was as a season finale and capping off all of these various stories and having kind of them all merge into this one episode. Okay, I get it. And it's fine for that reason. I don't hate it for that reason, but it wasn't my favorite.
Dude, Season 1, Episode 12 of the Orville.
Mad Idolatry.
Okay?
Yeah, homeboy. Woo!
Where the fuck is that episode at, at the end of this season? That's what we needed. I mean, something that grabbed you, made you go, oh, let's talk.
Yeah.
Nope.
There's not a whole lot to talk about with the road not taken.
Nope. It's the only thing that you can maybe hope for is that, again, maybe some kind of aspect of the mind wipe didn't take, and when we begin Season 3, there's going to be shit that's kind of off. That's the only thing I'm kind of hoping for. Okay, maybe now all of a sudden she's forcing herself to go out on dates with him, and we come back to Season 3 and they're married. And you're like, whoa, that might mean something.
Yeah, I would like to see a Season 3 where they fix the Kalon issue. Ed still captains the Orville, but they're married this time.
Yeah.
I think that would be pretty cool, and it would be a fun thing to explore. But we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. As of this recording, the Orville has not been picked up again by Fox, but considering fucking Disney's canceling programs left and right, what do you call it? The X-Men show that's on Fox, that got canceled.
Gifted.
The Gifted got canceled. Some other stuff got canceled. So, and the Orville's a hit for the Fox station. So they need all the hits they can get.
I don't want to see this go away. I don't have CBS All Access, and from what I heard, that new Star Trek is not that great.
I haven't watched it because of all these streaming services I'm paying for. I'm not paying for fucking CBS All Access.
Yeah, I don't have any desire to go and pay for that. Even if you're going to try and build it around Star Trek, from what I understand, it's not the greatest. I've been reading some or hearing some snippets from what's happened in that show, but I don't see people talking about it. I really don't.
I've heard it's very SJW.
Okay. All right. Well,
I don't know how true that is, but as far as the ratings go, Rotten Tomatoes this season had 100% approval rating. So
really?
12 reviews, all fresh.
Okay.
As far as the ratings went, The Road Not Taken was a 0.7. The season premiere was a 0.15. Everything else was between a 0.6 and a 0.8.
It's hard to.
Identity Part 2, outside of the season premiere and finale, were the highest watched episodes this season. I mean, it's like nobody's watching. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, the Fox has got to put something on. It can't just put on boxing. So I'm hoping it gets renewed. Of course, if it's not, they kind of they tied up season 2 to where I honestly don't know where they could go next with season 3. I mean, not like they have nowhere to go like the fucking Last Jedi. Well, we've killed everyone and the rebellion's crushed and there's 6 people left. Okay, roll credits. It's not like that. I'm saying they can go in any direction they want, but they didn't really give any indicators as to where they were going.
No, they didn't. They didn't. It was just, hey, everything's back to normal, we assume.
Yeah.
So,
all right. I love the Orville. It's top 5 for me. The Flash, Legends, they're in my top 5. I mean, there's certain shows that like I'll watch on Hulu or I'll watch, on DVR when I get the chance, and sometimes I'll wait for a few episodes to pass and then I'll binge them on a Saturday, especially as busy as I can be. I don't always have time to watch things weekly. The Orville, I always made it a point to watch every week, and in some cases I tried to watch it live, even with all the podcasting that I'm doing. It's that good.
Wow. Yeah, I'll definitely tell you that I'm right there. When it comes to it aired the day before Hulu, I'm hopping on it that next night, usually after the podcast is over. If I'm done, whatever I'm doing, I'm making an opportunity to try and watch the show. So I really do hope they come back for a season 3. I had a great time, especially these first 2 seasons. It again took me by surprise. I wasn't expecting this at all. And now we get into season 2, and I'm just like, give us some more. I'm ready.
All right, next week, since there's no movie to come out this weekend, I mean, unless you're taking your kids to go see Ugly Dolls, which, good on you. Lots of luck. Next week, there'll be another TV party tonight with myself and Jesse. Possibly Andrew Graham, possibly not. Possibly Jason Teasley, possibly not. I don't really know who else is going to join us, but we're talking Cobra Kai.
Is Pat out of that one?
I don't know. I'll have to get with people and figure out what they want to do. But at the minimum, you're going to be there. That's all that.
Yes, I shall be there.
That's all that matters to me.
And I'll tell you right now, I finished Cobra Kai season 2, and it's good. It's good.
Okay. So yeah, I'll binge it at some point this weekend. God, I'm fucking busy again. God, fuck me in the goat ass.
Cobra Kai season 2 will go fast because it's all half-hour episodes, and I think there's only like 10. So
yeah, but I also got to binge watch She-Ra.
Well, boy, sucks to be you, sir.
You know what? I can probably do that on Sunday after I take my kid to see Endgame. So, all right. I'm sorry everyone's interested in my TV watching plans. As far as other TV parties, we got Alexis Hannah and I, as previously mentioned, we'll be discussing She-Ra next week. She'll be back on again May 30th for Game of Thrones. Hey, how about that Battle of Winterfell, Jesse?
Oh, my goodness, I heard you couldn't see shit. And I don't watch anything. I have not watched one episode, but ladies and gentlemen, I do have social media.
July 2nd, myself, Alexis Hannah, and Jesse will do a TV party tonight for an animated feature film, Batman vs. TMNT.
Exciting.
Jesse and I will be discussing the Doom Patrol series from DC Universe on July 16th. And the following week, on July 25th, Cloak and Dagger Season 2. I'm telling you this so that you'll know, by the way.
Yeah, man, I've got a lot of stuff I've got to watch. I haven't started Cloak and Dagger. I tried to start Doom Patrol. Aside from, the fuck it, I immediately had to turn the TV off. So, yeah, I got a lot on my slate.
I haven't watched a single episode of Doom Patrol, but I'm almost up to date on Cloak and Dagger.
Have you been enjoying it?
Yeah, I think it's moving faster this season than it was the previous season. In August, in August we'll have a TV party tonight on August 27th for Krypton Season 2.
Oh, wow. Jeez, I forgot all about that show.
And the week before that, Swamp Thing from DC Universe. If I'm saying it out loud, unless I mention otherwise, it's because I've drafted Jesse to do these TV party tonights.
I'll be there with bells on.
So we got Swamp Thing August 20th, Krypton Season 2, August 27th. September, Hannibal Season 3 with Robert Winfrey. We're finally going to wrap that up. That's it for the month of September. I'm just doing the TV party tonights. No TV parties. No, sorry. There'll be a TV party for Jesse's new favorite show, Pennyworth, which will be appearing on the Epix channel.
Hey guys, Batman?
When you get drafted! So Pennyworth, October 10th, from Epix. Jesse and I will discuss that. And you have access to the CW app, right?
Yeah.
Good. So Constantine, October 29th. We're doing that for Halloween. I think that was only one season, so that'll be pretty easy. So I'm dedicating an entire week to Constantine.
Yeah, I remember. And I have some interest on what's going to happen on source material from a couple people for sure. So,
cool.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
In the month of November, no TV parties, so that's fine. In December, The Boys. I don't know if you want to get in on that one.
Oh, boy. Dude, have you seen the previews for that or the trailer?
No.
Oh, my gosh,
We're
dude.
going to do the comic and the show. The comic
Yeah.
on December 2nd and then the show on December 3rd. By that point, the Arrowverse shows will have started up again. And on December 18th, unless I've got my dates screwed up, we'll be doing a TV party tonight for Crisis on Infinite Earths.
What is that? Is that the crossover?
That's next year's crossover. Which
okay.
Weren't you on this year? The one that we did this year?
No, I wasn't on for that one. That was Crisis on Earth X, right?
Yeah. No, that was 2 years ago.
Fuck.
The one that was this past year was
I thought that wasn't Crisis.
It was Elseworlds.
Oh, okay, yeah, Batwoman.
Yeah,
I was not there.
At the end of Elseworlds, they teased next season's crossover event was Crisis on Infinite Earths. So,
all right.
So you can make sure you're caught up on your Arrowverse shows by then.
Let me tell you, you're I have not watched a thing of Arrow. That's ending, isn't it? This is last season?
Yeah, next season's this last
Next
season.
season? Okay.
So that's all the TV parties. Jesse, go ahead and tell them about the Source Material podcast, and let's get on out of here.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I do a podcast right here on the network. It's called Source Material, where we discuss comic books. That's right. Usually we'll grab a story arc, read it, have a discussion about it. It's like a book club for comics. Have usually a round table of guests, Mark being one of them, and then just about anybody else we can pull in there to talk comics. So if you're in on, if you'd like to know where some of this stuff comes from, check out Source Material. We're at over 200 episodes. A lot of fun stuff on there. Recently released our Avengers Forever podcast featuring a 12-issue story arc that was, wow. I mean, it was unreal from the late 90s, actually, 1999. Kurt Busiek, who actually retweeted the podcast, thanks to Chris Armstrong for getting it to his attention. So, yeah, friend of the show, Kurt Busiek. Can't complain. But, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, go give the Radulich and Broadcasting Network Facebook page a like to stay up on top of all the great podcasts that we have to offer. Usually you can go to any podcast platform, type in RADULICH, and then you should be able to find the network. Even if you want to just find one show, download it and give it a listen. That's perfect. Feel free to rate, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. I'm ready to get the hell out of here, Mark. What do you got to say? Let's go.
The CPAP's calling. We hope you enjoyed this show, and we hope to offend you in the future.
Looking for a truly unique experience this weekend? Get away to Orlando for our uniquely eventful spring and discover all the ways you can make the most of every moment. From unforgettable concerts to one-of-a-kind festivals to the debut of epic new rides and attractions, you'll find something for everyone. And Visit Orlando is your guide to enjoying all the season has to offer. To start planning your uniquely eventful spring, head to visitorlando.com today.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans. 30% of Americans who are planning home improvements of $5,000 or more will pay for those renovations with a high-interest credit card. That may not be a great idea. A better idea may be to take cash out of your home with a Quicken Loans 30-year fixed-rate mortgage. The rate today on our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 4.5%, APR 4.78%. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Rate subject to change. Pay 2% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.